Hey gang, just thought I'd do a quick tutorial for people that have been asking about swipe tips and techniques and stuff. And I just want to go through a few of my favorite things. This isn't going to cover everything, and it isn't going to cover all the advanced stuff and things. This is just like, if you want to get into swiping, just some easy things to do and some easy tips and get some real nice effects. And I'm not going to do it with cell activator. I just want to show you the swipe itself without cell activator, and just give you some tips on how to do it. Now, I hear people talking about paper towel and stuff, and that's all fine, but the paper towel has to be damp, not dry. You can use laminate sheet, you can use all sorts of objects, but I'll just show you a few of my favorites, and you can go as big or as small as you want to, but what you're after is a nice smooth slippery surface. So one of the ways I started with swiping was with the Humble playing card. Now these usually are plastic coated and are just perfect because they allow you to actually feel the pressure, and you just get a much better touch learning to use these. Now, big tip with swipes is after each swipe, make sure your tool is clean. Otherwise, you end up with muddy effects, colors where you don't want them, etc. So, after each swipe, take the time to wipe off your tool and then go again. All right. So that's the playing card. This is just a Humble dollar paint scraper that you pick up from any hardware store. These are perfect. Only thing with these things, sometimes, especially if they're plastic ones, they come with a rough surface. Take the time to remove that rough surface. You want a completely smooth, flat surface. My favorite tools are painting palette knives. These are great. They're not really that different from any of the metal tools that you'll get as paint scrapers and things. I just like the various shapes and things you can get. That's an extremely large one. They can come in like a triangle shape or a rectangle shape. They're perfectly fine as well for different effects, etc. And my favourite's usually the rectangular type and the smaller one. So I guess let's just cut to the chase and do a little bit of a show and tell, I guess. So I'm just going to use a bit of art paper that won't survive because it will eventually get too wet. All I'm going to do is pour a little bit of a pillow. You got to remember, after this is done, you'd normally have to tilt your work or spin your work, but I just wanted to show you without wasting too much material. Next step is select your paint. I'm just going to give this a bit of a stir because I don't want it too lumpy or anything like that. I'm just going to do a basic layered stack. So I'm going to put the blue across as the bottom layer. That paint's a little bit thick, but it'll work fine. We have a nice thick layer of blue there. Now the paint that I've got laying around is a nice green. Just give that a bit of a stir. I'm just going to put that through the middle of the blue, and it'll naturally spread the blue if you layer it in the middle like that, nice and slowly. So I'm just going to use the small palette tool because that's probably the easiest. What I'm going to do is just simple, start from the middle, swipe up. And as you can see, you can move it in any direction as you want. And you've got the blue on the outside and a nice green-blue blend as it got thinner on the way out. So here's another thing you can do with this method of layering the paint this way is ghost swipe it, go back to the middle and do the same on the other side. And you get that nice effect. here is a definite no-no. Never try and swipe a previous swipe back in the same direction you previously did it. It's okay to go across it and things, but never against how you've already swiped it. You can also get effects like this. You can go, oh, I want a bit more out there. So just go in there and do like that. You can see you get a nicer, I've pressed a little bit harder, so you've got a different color pattern through there. And that's the basics of that type of swipe. All right. That's your basic swipe, and you get some real nice effects. And if you don't want to pull it out from the middle, you can actually go lengthways. And I pressed too hard, and that paint got a bit dry. Hang on, I'll just put another layer down. Poured that a bit thick, doesn't matter. This is only a tutorial. I'm not looking for perfection in this, and it's hard on this paper. I'm used to canvas, and I'm running out of paint, but still. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes, and I hope you get the idea from it. Just lay that across the middle again. Now I've got a nice big air bubble there. I'm just going to pop him and get rid of him because he'll ruin it. Nice clean palette knife. And rub him across the surface like that. The paint's dried out a bit too much as the pillow. And there you go. You've got your straight swipe like that. Okay. All right. So, what else can you do? That's the basic type swipe method. Let's pour another puddle. I'll show you something a little bit different. You have to use your imagination with the colors. You have to think about your color layering and how these colors will act once you push them together under pressure. So you want to make sure that you've got colors that are compatible and not going to blend too much so you don't end up with yucky grays and browns. That's really important. Here's another basic method. Now, I don't usually do this with tube paints, which is what I'm using now. I usually do this just with pigments, but it's called the loaded palette knife. And all it is not actually pouring the paint onto the pillow, but pouring it onto the knife itself. Just like that. Add a little bit of green. Now, this paint's a little bit thick, so this might be problematic. I'm going to go with it anyway. And normally what I would do, if this was a pigment or something like that, where you're after a really high cell count or any of that, I'd layer that nice and smooth on the palette knife and have it cover the whole palette knife and try and get it a little less thick. But seeing this is not with cells and we're using this just as an example, I'll go with this. You can see the blue and green sitting on there now. And all we're going to do is rub the knife gently across the surface and get it to react like that. And as you can see, you've got some nice effects. The real value of that type of swipe is you can get that wave type effect, as I just did there. And you can see where I tried to come across. I did that on purpose a little bit. You can get a nice wave effect, but if I come across that too much, I'm going to pull all the white over the colour and you're going to lose that effect. You've got some nice swirl through there and some nice fading into the pillow there. Spin that out, that'll be lovely. I hope this has helped you guys. Thanks.